Hello, my name is John Rose. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to take a closer look at the benefits of a raw food diet. And the best place to start when you want to look at the benefits of a raw food diet is to look at the negatives of a cooked food diet. So for you people who think cooking is okay, ask yourself a question. Is cooking that food causing anything negative? Is it harming the food? Is eating it harming us? Well, the worst thing about cooking our food is it allows us to eat a wider variety of food, and people think that's the benefit. No, it's not. That's the illusion of it. It allows us to eat food we're not even biologically adapted to eat, that actually have anti-nutrients in it to make sure we don't eat it. But hey, that's the benefit of cooked food. We can kill the food and kill the anti-nutrients. So, worst thing there is about cooking our food is the first of 5 mistakes. It allows us to make the second, eating the animals. The third, eating plants we're not biologically adapted to eat. The fourth, the Industrial Revolution. That's when we start processing our foods. We wouldn't be doing that if we weren't making those other mistakes. And then the chemicals. And remember, that's just part of black magic, how the powers that be poison us and make our food look like food, but it's magic. It's not, because we're missing too many things. So right off the bat, cooking has a negative to it because it allows us to eat foods we're just not meant to eat. And then there are micronutrients and macronutrients. So let's start with the macronutrients. These are the caloric nutrients, the protein, the carbohydrates, and fats. Turns out cooking those foods turns every one of them into to carcinogens. They're carcinogenic. Start with the protein. We lose half the biological value of protein. For you guys so concerned about protein, where do you get your protein, you vegetarians, you raw vegans? Well, why are you cook food people destroying half of the protein you're consuming? At the Max Planck Institute, they proved that we lose 50% of the biological value when we cook our food. And all you have to do is imagine what it's like to drop an egg in a skillet. You've probably seen it before, or even into a boil of water when you see it poaching. The egg white coagulates right before your eyes. It chemically changes. It's altered. It's not the same thing anymore. Now, you got to admit, if I took 3 egg whites and either put them in my mouth and start chewing on them, or swallow them all whole at one time, either way, I'm going to start wanting to gag. In fact, I thought of this earlier, and I almost gagged at the time. But look what we can do. We can put it in the fire, and now it's yummy, yummy, yummy. But you lost half the protein. And that doesn't even take into consideration that the body doesn't want protein. That's too complex. The body wants the amino acids in the raw foods. So we lose half the biological value of the protein. And Dr. T. Colin Campbell proved that if the protein is animal protein, it goes above 10%, and you got a toxin inside you, that the animal protein will turn the cancer on. It doesn't happen with plant protein. The carbohydrates, well, they caramelize when we heat them up, don't we? Or don't they? And of course, the hotter they are, the longer they're cooked, the more acrylamides are made. We now know that this is what happens when we cook our food. One may argue, well, if I'm only going to steam some broccoli or cauliflower, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of acrylamides there. Well, okay, there's a better bad choice when it comes to cooked food, but most of us aren't steaming broccoli and eating cauliflower. We're eating those French fries and donuts and even bread. Think how long bread is baked for the temperature it's at. So those cause carcinogenic substances. And when it comes to fat, we've known this forever, that when you heat a fat, it becomes a carcinogenic substance. So what do we got with the macronutrients? Is cooking harming those in any way and harming us? Yes, they're carcinogenic and they're losing their values. Now, what about the micronutrients? You got vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytochemicals. What happens in those cases? We'll take a look at the vitamins. When we cook our food, we lose 30 to 70% of the vitamins, and it depends on how many vitamins were in there to begin with. The more we have, you'll lose more. Not all of them are heat sensitive, but the point is, we're losing them. Now, how about the minerals? Well, depending upon your method of cooking, you can lose 40% of your minerals simply by boiling some potatoes and then throwing the water out. Much better baking it, right? Or, yeah, baked potato. Interestingly, if you look at the Bovis energy units, you see that we're around 6,500. We want to eat foods around the 8,000 or 10,000 range. That's the raw foods. All the other foods are down below 6,500. That's why they're so hard for us. That's why the #1 benefit of a raw food diet is you're no longer eating cooked food. And does cooked food provide anything negative? You bet. Except for some reason, probably because they grow underground. Tubers like potatoes and sweet potatoes are at 2,000 Bovis energy units. But when you boil them, they go up to 7,000. When you bake it, it goes up to 9,000. So I guess it's not getting the sun down below, and when we add our version of sun or heat, it somehow magically raises them. And that might explain why the Okinawas seem to do so well on those sweet potatoes they consume. Somehow cooking those, there might be a benefit to it. Okay, you gotta look at both sides, right? Negatives and positives. Positive, we can eat more food. Well, that's not a positive, that's actually a negative. And then if you do something like a potato, hey, that actually does increase those Bovis energy units, but what other negatives are happening? Oh my God, it's starch, acrylamides, yes, exactly. So the micronutrients, our reader showed we lose 37% of the vitamins, up to 40% of the minerals. And of course, the thing that happens when we cook the food that has a mineral in it, it's now an inorganic mineral. Now, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, John. Organic simply means a carbon is attached. True, if you're in that field of study, that's your definition, but it's only limited to your field of study. There's 7 other definitions people have for that, and one of them is if it is of and is and are derived from a living substance. So we get organic minerals when we consume a living plant that has the final rays of the sun inside of it. Those tubers don't have those in there as much as the ones that are sun foods. And the point is that these plants are designed to live on Earth where nothing should be hotter than the sun, so we should never apply anything hotter than the sun to our food. That's what destroys the food, and now it's an inorganic mineral. Yes, I know minerals don't have a carbon attached to it, so by that definition they're not organic, but they become organic minerals because they're part of a plant. And we don't want to destroy that. Now, how about the antioxidants? The same thing applies to that. It destroys them. How about the phytochemicals? It destroys them. But yet, John, I heard, don't you know you heard it, because every article I've ever read on raw food always comes out and bashes the raw food by saying, well, you got to cook your food, you get more beta carotene in those carrots, you get more lycopene in the tomatoes. They always mention that and throw those type of things. There's a handful of things that get better, like the tubers got better, but then they fail to point out all the negatives. Well, I got a loud truck coming, and there's no way of avoiding this, so sorry, guys. But anyway, you have to weigh both sides. And sometimes we are compensated for our losses, but when it comes to cooking our food, we're not compensated for our losses. The huge benefits of raw food, number one benefit, you're no longer eating dead, cooked, lifeless food. That doesn't have the same biological value. We're losing the micronutrients. The macronutrients are becoming carcinogenic. Can you hear him? Is that guy going around watering? Yes, he is. Much needed. Don't mind that interruption at all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, for you cooked food apologists, ask yourself honestly, does cooking our food harm the food in us in any way? And I just showed you how it does, both from the macronutrient point of view and the micronutrient point of view. And I haven't even talked about other things that we don't really understand as well as we should, like the enzymes. But the biophotons, now we do understand that. The research that Dr. Fritz Albert Popp has done over the last 4 decades is astonishing. We now find out the best benefit of not cooking our food is now we're eating our biophotons. The fall of mankind happened when we stopped eating biophotons. Isn't that so simple? Doesn't that make sense? Well, wait a second, John. That's not the fall of mankind. You're right. I found it this morning. I thought of it on the way over here. You see, to understand the fall of mankind, you have to understand it's something we did. And I represent that in pieces 22 to 32. Piece 33 is the environment. Pieces 22 to 32 is how we interact with our environment. We got air, water, and food, sunshine, exercise, and sleep, our thoughts, our emotions, the community we live in. We need to procreate. We need to be free of things outside our control. And then we got that environment. And I figured out the fall of mankind. I've been wrong all along. I figured it out. It just came to me. What happened to us? It wasn't the food we changed. Of course, the air and water wouldn't do anything. The food, that kind of made sense to me. I believed that, yeah, that's what we did. We did something to our food. But no, it was procreation. We were visited by an alien long ago that had the power to seduce any man and woman and have a menage a trois. Where when the man impregnated the alien took his own DNA and impregnated the women. And we only had a few people back then, but that's what happened. Long ago, an alien produced a whole new race of people. Now we're born this way. We can't do anything about it. We got the wrong mentality because we got alien DNA in us. Now I realize I've been wrong. There was a much better explanation for why there's something wrong with us. Okay, I told you the 11 ways we interact with our environment. The fall of mankind has to be one of those. What makes sense? Air, water, food, sunshine, maybe. Exercise, sleep. Yeah, that's what happened to us. Long ago, we were invaded by these loud insects and we could never sleep. And all of a sudden, that made us make bad decisions, and then that was the start of it. It was sleep deprivation. That's the fall of mankind. Was it our thoughts, our emotions? Well, you know what? You have to understand, when you talk about the fall of mankind, you have to understand 3 stages of knowledge. And when you talk about the fall of mankind, you can talk about it when it's relative to the first stage, and you can talk about it when it's relative to the portal that connects the two. You can talk about the portal that connects the first stage to the second stage. You can talk about the second stage. You can talk about the third stage. You can identify the fall of mankind in all 3 stages in those portals. And a lot of people will tell me, John, cooking our food is not the fall of mankind. It's up here in one of these boxes or in one of these portals. And I'm saying, I understand something precedes the fall of mankind, but what I'm concerned about is correcting it. That's the action box. That's the second stage of knowledge. What are we doing? Did we do something relative to our environment that it was a mistake? And if we did it long ago, are we still making it? And the answer is yes. We started cooking our food long ago. That's the fall of mankind. That's when we stopped eating biophotons. And we still live in the dark ages because we're still eating cooked food. One simple solution is for us to wake up and realize we're under a spell. As soon as we start cooking our food, it creates a false hunger in our belly. It's a drug. We have a withdrawal symptom. We're under the hunger spell. Plato, whatever deceives men seems to produce a magical enchantment. As soon as we started altering our food, eating cooked food, we had a withdrawal symptom down here and felt a need to respond to it. Put that back in there. We're supposed to experience a watering of our throat. It's not supposed to be an unpleasant, all gone on and agony type of thing. That's what happens with the withdrawal symptoms. It's not a morbid sensation. So this is what we face on this planet. The vast majority of us are in denial. We're under the hunger spell. We rationalize in every way imaginable that it's okay to cook our food or eat the animal or eat the pasta, the bread, the sandwiches, or the Twinkies, or the inorganic, or not inorganic, but the conventional foods. Organic doesn't matter. Those are the 5 mistakes, my friends. It's hard to figure all that out for the average person. There's really only one way we're going to really wake up the masses, and you know what it is. There's only one thing that's an idea as time has come, because it can appeal to so many people, and that's to take a solid food vacation. Just test this idea whose time has come, because when we can do that, the transformation we go through is so noticeable and everyone will see it. And if more and more people start doing it and sharing the message, saying, look, you got to understand, I went through something and it changed my life in such a positive way, I want to share it with you. It boggles my mind that you people do this and you don't want to go around and share it, but I understand what you go through, because you got to have some pretty thick skin or be super passionate like me. I don't want to have thick skin. I don't have that personality, but I'm super passionate. And I'll be honest with you, I don't care if I piss off 100 people if I can only save one person's life. But I'm batting a high percentage when I come out here. With some people, I can almost bat 100. I know exactly what to say to that person. In most cases, I shouldn't say 100, because I still get thrown for a loop every now and then. But you got to get out there and work at it, my friends. If you still believe that cooked food is the answer, stop eating it for a while. But do it in a way where you'll see results so much faster, and it'll be easier to stick with it. There's a reason why fasting is so popular throughout the ages. It allows us to control the one main thing that is controlling us, gluttony. As Bishop Carlton Pierce said, fasting means to cover the mouth. Sin, mistake, came into our lives through our mouths, through eating the wrong food. It was the cooked food. It's the worst thing we can do to our food that damages it on every level. But yet we get a few more micronutrients, and look at those tubers, those Bovis energy units are going up. Hey, hey, if we're going to eat something cooked, what do we eat? Oh my gosh. What you have to do, my friends, if you haven't taken a solid food vacation yet, is you got to see what you're missing. And you need to go for the appropriate length of time. You can't expect to reverse decades of living in a week or two. It'd be nice if it was that fast and easy. We should be thrilled to death to think, oh, all it's going to take is 3 or 4 months maybe to completely flush out that serpent inside me, bump up those biophotons so I can see what I'm missing and be more motivated not to destroy those biophotons. You got to have that brand new reference. You got to realize that we are the heroes on this planet, the ones who realize that most of our problems are self-inflicted. And when we stop making those 5 mistakes, especially the cooking of the food, when we stop making those, we reset our feedback system. Again, we flush out the serpent, that cesspool inside of our pipes. We bump up that sunlight energy, coherent sunlight energy that's faster than the speed of light, that allows us to communicate and sense we're all one with everything. And then allows us to overcome what's controlling us. That's what Tolstoy understood. That's why his essay, the first step to the book he translated in Russian, The Ethics of Diet, was to address the issue of gluttony. And that is the issue of a solid food vacation. But they didn't have juicers in Tolstoy's day, so water fasting worked fine, and the chemical revolution hadn't come along yet either, where it made water fasting more difficult because of all these environmental toxins. But that is the solution. I perfected a 3-step process to get us out of this hole. Only one thing we have to do: satisfy 2 groups of needs. I talk about that all the time in my other videos. Most of us aren't willing and able to do it. First step is to do something we are willing to do. That's testing ideas, time has come. And why is it an idea as time has come? Because you're going to correct those 5 mistakes on a temporary basis. Then you can see what you're missing. And then you're going to want to test to see whether or not cooking is good or bad, or animals are good or bad, or pasta is good or bad. And if you go long enough, your body's going to scream at you going, that's not food, what are you doing, you fool? You were feeling great, now all of a sudden you want to go lay down on the couch, you're all sedated. Ooh, I like that sedated feeling, I remember that. Ooh, I'm starting to crave those things now. Remember, don't suffer an exception until that new habit is firmly rooted. And most of us have to go through a learning experience. I had to go through it. Pretty much most of us have to. Unless you just have so much knowledge of the consequences. That's what Nietzsche meant. With a strong enough why, we can bear almost any how. You got to understand the benefits of a raw food diet. And to do that, you have to understand the negatives from cooking the food. When you weigh what it does harmful to us and the few beta-carotene and lycopene we get more of, there's no comparison. It's a joke. It's a sick joke that's a reflection of a sick society that's so in denial that we can't even look at our anatomical characteristics and realize we're not meant to eat an animal. That's why I tell people that most of us are not in a position to evaluate what we're doing and what we need to do because we don't see what we're missing. We're not going to think it's a fair trade. That's why you got to test an idea as time has come, because when you do test an idea as time has come, you realize, God, it was a lot more than a fair trade. And for me, when I finally went the distance and I went 90 days, it was the most exciting 90 days of my life. Nothing that I've ever done in my life was better than that experience. And that's why I'm so passionate. I went the distance. And I encourage you guys to go the distance because you know why. When you can go the distance, you're going to see what you're missing. You're going to be in a better position to be on the hero's journey and be motivated to tell your story to other people. And then when you start telling other people your story, and more of them start doing it, oh man, you're in for a treat.